conversation that the candles are having with infinity,
Rabbi, is there any distance halachically that you have to sit by the candles, or if you're 6 feet
No,
above?
you don't have to sit by the candles. No, absolutely not. Halachically, if you just light the candles and you walk away, you absolutely did the mitzvah.
Okay.
This is just something extra, something like something that could be, dictated or commanded or something like that. It's something which, if you want to take the time to like really connect and really zone in and really have like an inner appreciation, so then that's up to you. But generally that's the difference between halacha and Kabbalah. That halacha is more about the commandments. It has to do with the practical, tangible sort of connection, which is very, very deep. And Kabbalah is more about the mystical reasons behind all of those, all of those physical, routine sort of like mitzvot. So that's what Kabbalah teaches, and therefore it's not something which could be like pointed out, this kind of a thing. So halacha says this is the best way to do it, but now we're gonna look into the Kabbalistic reason why that is. Why is the menorah supposed to be on the left side while the mezuzah is supposed to be on the right side, according to the inner dimension, inner aspect of things? So this is the style of the Alter Rebbe. So in the Alter Rebbe style, you have to have patience, meaning he is going to build up a concept, and he's not going to answer the question right away. He's first going to go into a concept, and then later on he's going to come back to answer this question. So this is the concept which the Alter Rebbe brings out. He says that there's a saying actually by King David that everything that God desired, he created. And the words for that in Hebrew is Kol asher chafetz Hashem, everything that God desired, he created. And there's another saying, also by King David, Bidvar Hashem shamayim, that in the words of God, the heavens were created. So first thing that it says that everything that God desired, he created. And the other one says, in the words of God, the heavens were created. Is it the word of God, or is it the desire of God that created the heavens? That's basically where the Alter Rebbe is driving at. Again, right? One verse is, they're both King David. Is it the desire of God, or is it the word of God? So he explains, the Alter Rebbe explains that I'm going to read partially in Hebrew. We know that all aspects have a physical component to them, as well as an inner dimension to them. That the physical component of it is the idea of speech, and the inner working of it is called surah. Surah means like the picture or the painting of it. And going back to those two verses again, Kol asher chafetz Hashem, so that everything that God desired, he created. And in the words of God, the heavens were created. So the idea is, the Alter Rebbe is bringing out that there's two aspects. There's the physical manifestation of an object, as well as the inner, the inner, like, so to speak, soul of the object. And this is known to anybody that's artistic or creative in any shape and way. They draw something. So to be an artist, you have to have the mechanics of knowing how to draw. Otherwise, with all your good intention, you're not creating anything. So those mechanics of knowing, like kind of like the educational component of how to draw, is one aspect of it. But then there's the inner aspect of it, which is artistic, which is not really, it's not something which could be taught. It's something which a person is gifted with, and that's something that they instill within a painting or within a creation or within a piece of music or anything like that. There's the soul of the person. So the Alter Rebbe says that is the same idea by the creation of the world. That God created the world and created a physical world. And it says that in the words of God, the heavens were created. So the words of God is almost like the tangible, the physical component of it. And then the other verse is Kol Asher Chafetz Hashem Asa, that God desired to create it, and he could have really, from the point of view of his desire of how he created the world, he could have created it in any shape and way, and he could have instilled it with anything that he desired, that his will willed that should come into manifestation. So So that's what it says, that Yehalu Hashem Hashem. So we have to understand also that the Alter Rebbe is constantly quoting from Tehillim, from Psalms, because anybody that's studied Psalms knows that King David is the ultimate poet and is the ultimate singer for God. And it says Yehalu Shem Hashem, that we should praise Hashem, that God commanded everything to be created, and they were created. And this is by way of illustration, just like a king of flesh and blood, that his kingship is Hishmo Levad, Asher Nikra Al Medinaso. That the idea of a king is, again, we say that the verse says that you should praise the name of Hashem, that he created, that he commanded everything to be created, and it was commanded. So we say praise the name of Hashem. And this is like, just bear with us, like with the Alter Rebbe of where this is going at. But basically, praise the name of God. So what is the idea of praising the name of God? So when we say name about a person, a name is usually external to the person, right? A person is named a certain name because that's what their parents named them. But the name is really something which is external to them. So regarding God, when we say we praise the name of God, what does that mean? And it constantly says that in prayer. We praise the name of, what does that mean? It means that the name is the way that God manifested everything to be created. Now, why is that? Because the name is something which, once again, which is external to the person, so it's also external to God. And if God would have created the world like directly, there would have never been a limited form of a world. So it had to come through a level of constriction and through a level of limitation where we're not referring, just like I could refer to you, or I could refer to you, or right? By just saying you, and I mean like you in your essence, and I don't need to know your name, really. But the name now defines you as being this or being that. So the name defines you and limits you to be named that and not something else. So it's also by God, that God is defined as, sort of speak, limits, and he wants to be limited within the confines of a name, in order because God desires that he should create, that something should be created by the aspect of limitation. Okay? Any questions? So when we understand that this is just a name, we could praise God's name, meaning we're praising him through the actual finite level that he desired to be on, and that we are on as well. And that's the way we approach him, right? By recognizing the physical reality, and recognizing that the physical reality is really just a name of God, and it's just a layer, so to speak, but the essence itself is undefined and unlimited and is really nameless. So he continues on in this text about this concept, and I'm just gonna skip a bit of this, and I'm gonna get to the point of it. So the Alter is basically quoting a lot of Kabbalistic sources regarding this whole like hierarchy, of chaining, which science speaks about, but this is spoken about in Kabbalah like years and years before science was took form that it is. And by the way, we know that Newton used to study the Zohar, and he considered himself a Kabbalist. I don't know if that's true, but that if but in history books that's what's written. So Kabbalah kind of speaks about the hierarchy and basically the scientific makeup of the world. It's something that is constantly spoken about. But the Alter is getting down to the almost like to the emotional and to the human component of all this information. And he says that when a person understands, and right, when he understands that everything in the world is ultimately a manifestation of godliness, everything in the world, all physical aspects are really just the name of God. And just, by the way, the numerology of Elohim, which is a name of God, is Hateva, is nature. So when we understand that nature really has the same numerology as Elohim, so we view nature differently. By the way, is the reason why many of the great Hasidic masters, such as the Baal Shem Tov, etc., they used to go into nature because they used to love nature. Because nature really screams out godliness, really calls out godliness. If we just pay attention to, to those moments and to the silence and to everything that's going on. So when we really take in that everything in nature is really godliness, and the Alter speaks about like kind of like when a person like connects the dots and he understands that everything is godliness, and above what our visible world, there's such vastness, and even beyond that there's more vastness, and even beyond. So then what happens is that a person will essentially have a yearning for godliness, because he realizes that that this is all, that's almost just like layers. It's almost like clothing of godliness. It just seems like it's distant, but it's really just clothing. It's one layer and another layer. When a person like removes the layers, he realizes that there's infinity beyond that. And in the Zohar, this is it puts it this way. The Zohar, by the way, is it was written over here by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. I'm just reading this. written over here by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, literally couple 3 kilometers from here.
But in the 1200s?
No. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai lived in the 3rd century.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says in the Zohar, and these are the words, that whoever did not taste bitter and turned it sweet and turned darkness into light, right? He does not have a portion over here in the higher world. Once again, whoever did not turn bitter into sweet and transform darkness into light does not have a portion in this world. So, according to the words of the Zohar, that's the whole purpose of being, being human, is really taking the bitterness and turning it into sweetness, and taking darkness and transforming it into light. In the context of what we're talking about, it refers to the realization that the entire world is really just clothing of divinity, and the transformation is the realization of that divinity. So that transformation is realizing that you know what, that this is, it's really like that. But by the way, it's very interesting that Hanukkah and Purim are both they're the 2 rabbinic holidays. They're the last holidays that we have, and they're very similar in many ways. I'll just give you one example. That we spin the dreidel on Hanukkah, and we spin the dreidel from up on top, and the grogger we also spin, right, and we spin it from the bottom. They represent 2 different aspects of the same, the same coin. It's the same concept. And the concept is that wherever we spin, we're ultimately connected to oneness, to unity. There's a unity. There's an inner unity. There's a sanity within, within all of this like chaos, all this craziness. And Hanukkah says, it actually came from on top. And the idea is that when we recognize that everything, there's a source of it, comes from on top. So then we reach that sanity. And Hanukkah, and Purim, it actually came from below. We actually held on to that sanity. If you recall the story of Purim, we were supposed to be annihilated, and Esther, the queen, she's the one that actually spearheaded the whole redemption of the entire Jewish people because of her self-sacrifice, and it all came from below to above. And that was like, we're saying that everything that's going on actually comes from below to above. So we spin the grogger from below to above. So there's the correlations between Hanukkah and Purim, and they actually Kabbalistically they represent the right and the left foot, because the right foot corresponds to Hod. Hod is acknowledgement and humility, and the left foot corresponds to endurance. And those are kind of like, up above, the Passover and Sukkot and Shavuot are like more of the they have to do with Chesed, Tiferet, and Gvura, and not for right now. But the point that I wanted to bring out is that both holidays have to do with seeing beyond the limited. And that's what Hanukkah is about. Hanukkah is about, we're lighting the menorah, we're lighting the candles, and we're realizing that everything within physicality and everything that is teva, that is nature, is really just is really just externality. It's just but looking beyond that, looking for the hand of God, and the source of everything is what Hanukkah is about. And what Purim is about, we wear masks, And the idea of wearing masks is the realization that God is, so to speak, in a mask, and it's a big, like, plan, and when we take off the mask, we realize, oh, who's behind the mask? It was this guy. He's wearing this silly mask, and it was ridiculous. Why did he do it? But he did it, and he put on the mask, and then when you take it off, you realize it was really him. And that's what Purim is about. Purim is recognizing that it's all just a mask. So both aspects over here, and both Purim and Hanukkah have to do this with the same aspect of recognizing the mask. So this is what the Alter Rebbe says, that when a person recognizes this mask, so then he actually, what happens is something very, very special, very, very deep, is that there's a transformation of bitter to sweet and darkness to light, which is the whole purpose of being in creation, this transformation. In other words, not steeping in it, but transforming it. And the transformation is the realization. And that's, and that's actually what Hanukkah is about, is the realization that, and please God, we'll speak about it more on Shabbat, is the whole idea of light and candles is the idea of light, as opposed to our candlelight, as opposed to other forms of light. That candlelight actually transforms, the darkness, the apparent darkness of, for example, of this room. We could light a candle, and it's going to look way different than it does right now. And we're going to actually appreciate, all the details in the room much more because we have a candle. So the finite and the recognizing the finite and appreciating the finite and actually transforms the darkness into light. So the darkness which would be in the room would be transformed by the lighting of the candles, of a candle, right? So that's the transformation. And he says the transformation of darkness into light. So that's the idea. So that's the idea. And so now we're getting to the answer, closer to the answer. I skipped a bit. But we're getting closer to the answer. And the answer, it says that Kiner mitzvah v'Torah or. So King Solomon says in Proverbs, says that Kiner mitzvah, that a candle is considered a mitzvah. The Torah, and Torah is considered light. Mm-hmm. So we've got the imagery of light versus candle. What's the difference between candle and light? So, okay, so bear with me, because we're not ready to answer that question. And this is like the part of the brilliance of the Alter Rebbe, of the Baal Tanya, is almost if you want to understand his way of thought, you have to like have patience and like go on to like the next build up of what he's building up. So he explains the concept of letters. What is the idea of letters? Okay, so to answer the difference between Torah being light versus candles, which is a mitzvah. So he explains the concept of letters. Okay. So we know that letters are divided by the 5 forms of speech that we have. We have five forms of speech. We can have letters that come from the lips, that come from the teeth, guttural, from the palate, and from the tongue. So there's five forms of letters, which are this concept of letters is a very is a very a wondrous. I mean, it's an incredible way of understanding what what letters are. They're actually divided, and they're split up by different parts in the mouth, and they correspond to the five forms of they're called, Kabbalistically, they're called gvura. There's five forms of gvura. They actually split up. If you're calling five times and to bash it on the ground, it has to do with the sweetening of the five forms of gvura, of discipline, And so what's the idea of discipline? Okay, so discipline actually has the ability of taking a concept and limiting it. That's what gvura is, right? First, I'm going to have a brilliant idea of creating something, or a brilliant idea for a business, or a brilliant idea of whatever it may be. But if they don't bring it down in a finite, form, so then that's a fleeting thought, and it's a great idea, and many people have great ideas, but it's not going to go anywhere. So gvura, which is, by the way, associated with bina, with understanding, now limits the concept and is able to actually carry it through. Okay, so the idea of speech is the understanding of taking a concept and being able to verbalize it, being able to speak it, to say it. So now, what does this have to do with what we're speaking about over here? So by the form, but the idea over here of godliness, right? So there's infinity, and there's the idea of endlessness. And the idea of the endlessness, right, of infinity is called Ein Sof. From that perspective, it's impossible for anything to come down in a finite form, because infinity, Ein Sof, would not want anything. Right? It's all about infinity. So the idea of gvura is limiting, and it's the concept of bringing it down into a finite form. So that's what we're talking about, speech. That God created the world through the vehicle of speech. Because the vehicle of speech is the closest way that we could understand God's infinity, right? Creating something and bringing it down into a finite form. Because from level of thought, from level of emotion, and in our world, right, it is infinite. A person could be emotional, like from here to whatever, right? And in terms of intellect as well, the person could be super brilliant, could be even autistic and not say a word their entire life, right? And they're in their fishbowl of brilliance. But speech is being able to take that concept and to adapt it and to bring it into a user-friendly, into a finite form of existence. And that's where we talk about the five forms of speech over here by godliness. And this is what the Alter Rebbe is speaking about over here. And this is, by the way, the blessing of man. It says that Adam was created, Adam and Eve. It says that God blew into man nefesh chaya, a living life. And one of the major commentaries, who's called the Unkelis, says that refers to a speaking soul. That's what defines man versus animal, because animals also have emotions. They also have definitely some intelligence and instincts, etc. But man is the only animal that is able to, or being that is able to actually express their inner thoughts. So Okay, so I'm skipping a bit of this over here, and now the Torah is defined in letters. I mean, if we would open up the Torah scroll and one letter would be missing, the whole Torah scroll is called puzzle. So it's not a kosher Torah scroll. You have to have every single letter of the Torah intact, right? Now, why is that? It's the wisdom of God and it's the infinity of God, but yet it's like so exact. You know, you have special rabbis who are called a sofer, and he's got to study for years and how to write, and he has that beautiful handwriting, and they actually go to the mikvah before they write, and it's so many rules about it. Why? It's God's infinity. So the Alter Rebbe explains that although Torah stems from such a deep place, which is it stems from a place of Keser, of crown of God, but at the same time, it is limited within letters and is limited within form. So through the letters of Torah, even if a person does not understand the letters of Torah, but he or she just reads those letters or even hears those letters have innate energy within them that they're able to actually draw down what? Light. If you don't know Hebrew and you just hear the Torah reading, for example, and you're sitting there like, I don't get a word of this. But bottom line, the Torah is screaming godliness at you. So the Alter Rebbe makes the point that the idea of Torah is actually a mashal, like an allegory or an analogy for something which is higher. So when you understand something, for example, in Torah, you understand, let's say, the story of Joseph, which is this week's reading, Joseph and Yehuda and Judah. You're like, okay, that's a beautiful story, very enchanting, I don't know, exciting story, a lot of drama going on. But it's a story, and it's a bestseller. The Bible is the bestseller in the whole, ever. When we understand that this story is just a finite form of the story, but beyond that, there's another level of what Joseph means and what Judah really means, and beyond that, there's another level of that, another level of that. So when you understand that, so then your appreciation for what you're studying and what you're absorbing at this moment is not just a pshat level, which is pshat is like the most basic level of the Torah. But you understand that the Torah is really pardes. The Torah is really like the orchard of the Torah, and it has endless amount of interpretations, which up until this day, the Holy Torah in the Torah. That's crazy. I mean, what else is there to know? The answer is that he's knowing more and more about godliness, because that's what the Torah is. It actually is almost like that form of speech, which in its source, the speech is really just that almost condensed consciousness, which is coming down through a finite mode. So that's Torah. So it's called Torah Or. Actually, that's the name of this book. It's called Torah Or, the Torah of light. Why is that? Because when a person opens up the Torah, he has the ability, he or she has the ability to just read those words, or to say those words, to understand those words, or to feel those words. And within those words there's light beyond that. There's light that they could never have imagined before. Okay, so that's Torah or. Now, what about the candle? So now, a candle is very interesting. A candle is only able to illuminate if there's air around the candle. Okay, if you don't have air around the candle, it's going to go out, right? You just put something over it, it's out. So it's very the letters of or and the letters of avir are the same letters, except for that or is aleph vav resh, and avir has a yud within it. Avir means air. Sorry. So avir is air, and or is light. So it's the same letters, except that avir, air, has the letter yud within it. So, okay, so here, this is the Alter Rebbe is going to say like an unbelievable concept, that the idea of there's a difference between a surrounding light and an inner light. Okay, and the concept is as follows. As you said about Torah, Torah connects to, it's an inner light, that we understand that there's an external existence, on a physical level or by the Torah, on the concept, you understand that there's something beyond it. That has to do with an inner realization. But then there's the aspect of surrounding. And the concept of surrounding is something that you actually don't understand. It actually comes from a level which is beyond you. And here's where the Alter Rebbe actually makes a distinction between Torah and mitzvos, and a mitzvah. Because a mitzvah, although it's physical, and you don't understand really what you're doing when you're doing it. Torah, you understand, okay, I get this concept, or I feel this concept, and I realize that there's something beyond this concept. But when you do the physical mitzvah, you're like, I don't know, it's like physical. There's like, it's just coming down, and it's like, this kind of, it's like right here, right within my, within my existence. He says, so he explains that the concept of a mitzvah is that it actually comes from a higher source. Because it's physical, because it descends down to a place of almost like the unknown, it actually is drawn from a place which is called the surrounding light. So that's where he explains the idea of okay. So that's where he explains that or is light and or is Torah, but avir is air. So air, we kind of like take for granted all the time. It's like there's a lot of things going on right here, but basically we have these lights which are, allowing us to see, this beautiful room, really beautiful library. But beyond that, there's something that we just don't appreciate, and that's we have air. So the air is just like, without the air, we would, that's it. We're done. Nothing, that's it. We would not have anything. So the air is almost like the unappreciated, but unnoticed, source of vitality. It's the real source of vitality. Mm-hmm. So that's what we have, or we have light, but which is included within it. And the letter Yud is very significant because the letter Yud is the smallest letter of the alphabet, and it is associated with Chokhmah, with wisdom, which is really the source of like nothingness. So we could just get like almost like this imagery over here. I mean, that we have our light. Beyond that, we have air, and they're almost like one and the same. But the source of light is really the air around us, and that's a real source of that's our real reality. That's a source of life, and it has that Yud within it, because it comes from nothingness, from that source of nothingness. So that's the concept of a mitzvah, because it says that ner mitzvah, the Torah or. Torah is considered or, is light, and it draws down from the inner light. But a mitzvah draws down from the level of surrounding light, which is a very profound concept. Because when we do the physical mitzvah, which type of what are we tapping into? We're tapping into a level of, it's not felt, and we take it for granted all the time. And when we do the physical mitzvah, we're actually tapping into that place, which is in fact higher than Torah. Because if you think about it, really, Torah explains the mitzvot, right? The Torah, defines what the mitzvot are. It's the mitzvah is this, the mitzvah is that. So it means that the mitzvah is really the source of what we're focusing on, and the Torah just explains it all, right? So it comes out that the idea of the performance of a mitzvah is in fact higher than the study, right? So it's always worth coming. I hope. So that's the idea of the mezuzah is on the right side, and the Chanukah is on the Chanukiah is on the left side. Okay, remember the Alter Rebbe opened up, and he gave a couple of intros to what's going on over here, and he asked the question: why is it, according to the Shulchan Aruch, that the best way, the preferable way of lighting the menorah is putting the menorah opposite the mezuzah, where the menorah should be on the left and the mezuzah should be on the right? Yeah.
So, but that presupposes that you're lighting the menorah outside in front of the door.
Okay, good question. So it's actually brought down in halacha that there's a number of places of where you could light the menorah. And if you can't light it outside, such as majority of people around the world, it's just not the safest place, or weather-wise it's not conducive, or they're not into it, or whatever it is, they could light it by a window. If a window doesn't work for them, they should light it opposite the, even in their house, a mezuzah within their house.
If you misses it in front of the window, you would bring the mezuzah there, or would it have to be?
No. So, majority of I believe majority of Torah, observant Jews who follow Shulchan Aruch, who follow like this custom. So the custom actually brought it down to where we're at now in our times, is to light it across a mezuzah in the house, not even by a window, light it by a house. And this is the majority of like Hasidic Rebbes and Hasidim in general, and Kabbalists as well.
Every house has a number of mezuzot.
Right.
So
anyone.
Entry doors.
Yeah. Anywhere that's safe. For example, I have kids, and I know if I put it over here, the kids are, it's going to be, it's very dangerous. So we pick a certain area where we say, it's safe. But there's a reason for that, by the way. the minhag, in a sense, almost like became the halacha, which is what the Shulchan Aruch is saying over here. And it's and I think this is like and when we talk about lighting, so we could light outside to the rest of the people. And it used to be that way because the house was so fortified and Judaism was so like felt within the house that you just light it outside and just it's that's it. Nowadays it's like what we should be focusing on is strengthening our inner selves, our inner like family lifestyle, who we are on the inside. And Hanukkah is like, it's a time to like, we have to focus on that as well as focusing on the outside. But we can't just focus on the outside right away. We have to take the time of focusing who we are on the inside. So that's why we light the menorah on the inside. And nowadays, opposite the mezuzah, because the family dynamic should be so strong that's the basis. It all starts from there. If you want to shine on the outside, you first have to shine really on the inside. So it's amazing. Almost like if somebody would research like this halacha, like through the Talmud and through halacha and through all the ages, it's amazing. We've come to a time right now that it's almost like a chiddush. Chiddush is like a novelty that we should be like really lit on the inside. It's like something that while everything is happening around us, and the whole really the world is in turmoil. No other words for that. Where we actually take the time to zone in on the Chanukiah and on the menorah, and to strengthen ourselves and to be inspired and to be joyous and to have all everything that the Chanukah has to offer should be like imbued, should be like internalized within us on the deepest way. So when we have that, then we're able to like go the next step, and we're able to like shine also on the outside. So that's that source of that halacha. Ultimately it's to be outside, to shine it outside.
The goal is to take it outside.
The goal is to take it outside, and that was great. That was done years ago.
So that's why you see everybody running around with the menorahs on the top of the cars.
That's Chabad. That's Chabad, yeah.
Is that why?
So that's absolutely why, yeah. That's part and parcel of the mitzvah, is actually shining the outside. But you only see that in Chabad.
That's not a kosher.
No, it's not. No. But it's about publicizing the miracle, and part of celebrating Hanukkah is the publicity of the miracle. So we say she'asa nisim lav, the two brachos that we say, right? Lahadlik ner Chanukah, that's the technical aspect of lighting, and then she'asa nisim lavotenu b'yamim, that God made miracles for our forefathers, in those days and right now. I'm sorry? Which is the idea of publicity. So it's part and parcel of the mitzvah. That means that you can't just sit on your own in your house and light the menorah and say like, I'm done. No. If you're doing it that way and you're thinking that I'm illuminated, then you haven't done the mitzvah. But the idea is you have to not sit back, but you have to sit in your home nowadays, and you have to sort of like focus in and zone in on that illumination and connect to that in order ultimately to bring it outside. Because that is the ultimate level of the mitzvah, to actually situate the menorah, the Chanukiah, on the outside of the home, that the outside of the home should really illuminate. But we first need the inside of the home to be illuminated.
Well, no, that's advertising it or showing it to the rest of the world. That's not about his inside and outside.
So in our little shtetl, we have a Chabad rabbi that lights the menorah in the city hall.
That's it. That's the ultimate. And that you only have if you have inner Torah of Chassidut. And that's something that the Rebbe really instilled within all the shluchim all around the world, and they're all doing it, is not to be afraid of the darkness. You could be living in Greece and Turkey, and I know the shluch over there in Turkey and in Ukraine, in all these dark places. That's it. This is the ultimate truth. And that's why, we're going to speak about it on Shabbat, God willing, but that is really what the Hanukkah candles are all about. They're all about the revelation that this is nothing else exists but besides Hashem. And and Hanukkah candles have to do with Mashiach, has to do with the ultimate level of light. That really nothing else exists besides God. All darkness is really ultimately an illusion. So Chassidim were connected to the Rebbe, Shluchim, who cares? You're just some French guy, and you're thinking that you're so great. I'm gonna light a menorah, whether you like it or not. This is it. This is the symbol of truth. And I'm gonna truck away right through all your thoughts, through all your preconceptions, through all everything like that, because we see that the shluchim have had unbelievable, almost like above nature success within all this, and it's really the tool over here is the Torah, and these being connected to inner Torah. You can't just, let's say, be connected. I don't know. I'm sure this is great, but I don't know if it's going to do the job. You have to be totally illuminated. And that's the whole idea of Chassidut and Kabbalah, is really to be internally illuminated in order to shine outwards. So now we're reaching the answer over here of why the Hanukkah candles are on the left and the mezuzah is on the right. Okay. So mezuzah has to do with the concept of Torah. And it's on the right side, because right side always has to do with embracing, taking in, right? So the mezuzah is really a miniature Torah scroll, and you write it on the right. You put it on the right side because it has to do with the revelation. So mezuzah is Torah. And right, but so what did the Greeks try to do? The Greeks tried to make the Torah impure, right? To put a level of impurity in the Torah. Timu seshmanim. They took the oils and they touched them. So that's where Hanukkah comes from the left, And Hanukkah has to do with battling the left side, meaning battling the negative side, the point of negativity. Even outside, you could even put it outside of your home. Why is that? Because it comes from a level of a mitzvah, right? And this is what the point of the Alter Rebbe, that's the difference from Torah and mitzvah, because mitzvah comes from a level of surrounding light, and the source of surrounding light is in fact higher than even inner light, which is Torah. So therefore, you could put the mezuzah even on the left side. You could put it even outside, and it's able to do the job, because that's what mitzvah is. So practically speaking, what did the Alter Rebbe tell us? We really understood what the concept of the speeches, right? What is chefetz? What is the desire of it says chafetz Hashem, that God desires to create, and that has to do with almost like the soul behind it. And then we spoke about the difference between Torah and mitzvos, and mitzvos has the ability to push away the negativity because it's connected to the surrounding light. That's what the Alter Rebbe kind of like explained in 4 pages. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. 4 pages. I want to like bring this down like practically almost to our life, to our world. And this is what the study of Torah is supposed to be. By the way, there's 7 Rebbes that came after the Alter Rebbe, and that's actually part and parcel of Chabad Hasidism, is that the Alter Rebbe is the beginning of it. So you see, like, there's so much depth in this, in these words, but it's explained further, and it's almost brought down in a more, user-friendly way, up until we reach our existence. So I was thinking, what really, what is the practical takeaway of all of this? And I think it has to do with the concept of Kabbalah's all. Kabbalah's all it means doing something even against your will, which is really what a mitzvah is about, because a mitzvah is not always like easy to understand what you're actually doing. You're doing a command, and why are you doing it? So your parents did it, your grandparents did it, but like, why? It doesn't make sense ultimately. You're doing it, but you're doing it for something else, for somebody else, maybe, when you're doing a mitzvah, right? And the Alter Rebbe explains that, in fact, like that idea of the action, the performance, which has to do with the action, with the practicality, has a very, very important place, and probably the deepest place in all of Judaism and all of Torah, right? Even more than Torah itself, right? So it's the practical, it's the tangible. And by the way, I have a master in special education. I taught special education a bunch of years, and I can tell you from students that I've had, with all types of disabilities, etc., that when you connect to them with the physical, the tactile, you're connecting to them on the deepest level. When they're able to like feel something, they're just ADHD, or they're or autistic, or whatever it is, Asperger, and when they're connecting to something physical, whatever you're teaching them, it could be math, it could be science, it could be, I taught primarily Judaic subjects. But I saw unbelievable, kids that just got like the deepest concepts from understanding them on the physical level. And it's like that by Hashem and the physical mitzvahs, that the physical mitzvahs connect us to the level which is above understanding, which is the source of understanding, which is the difference between Torah, which is or, and mitzvah, which is avir, which is the source of it, which is that yud beyond it. So the yud is like the idea of like actually going beyond it, the understanding of and so Hanukkah we have a tremendous amount of light. We have light which is emanating from our menorah, from the Chanukiah, and it's light, beautiful light. But really, it's considered a mitzvah because it's a physical action that we're doing. We're physically lighting the Chanukiah. We're physically lighting the menorah, and that physical lighting of it is considered it's the epitome of a mitzvah. Why are we lighting the menorah? God commanded us to light the menorah. And that's considered a ner mitzvah. That's considered a ner mitzvah in Torah. Or so they kind of like work in conjunction. So Torah inspires mitzvah, and mitzvah is kind of like the source of Torah, and that's why we light the menorah opposite the mezuzah, because they're actually part and parcel. They are almost like married to each other. It's like the mitzvah needs the inspiration of Torah. Because you wouldn't, we would like, okay, what is, but when you're studying, especially inner Torah, the idea that these ideas actually come out to life much, much more, and the connection, identification that you have with the physical mitzvah is so much more, is so much greater, as opposed to like, why am I doing this? I don't care about it. It doesn't mean anything to me. So Torah, which is the mezuzah, is on the right, gives the inspiration, and Hanukkah is on the left. The actual physical mitzvah of it is on the left. That the physical mitzvah and the going beyond just the understanding of it is able to draw down a light which is even higher than the mezuzah, which is on the right. So I think that that these two lights, coming together are enough to inspire us for the entire year. And this is what Hanukkah is about. It's a miracle of light, which on the one hand has to do with, the victory of Torah, and on the other hand, it's the victory of mitzvah, and they're both part and parcel. And the truth is, the study of Torah is also a mitzvah. So the highest level of study of Torah is actually to study on the level of mitzvah, which is actually going beyond intellect. So. So I'd like to bless everybody with a very first of all inner light, that all of our inner lights should be very, very strong.
Amen.
And we should be inspired Jews and humans, and first, and we should be able to actually be a little bit more kind to the people that are within our household, and everybody within our household should be inspired as well to be also in conjunction, to be together, to be inspired to actually light also outside. Whoever's on our neighbors, and our neighbors should be inspired to be whoever's on the block, and the block should be inspired to be the entire whatever county or city, etc. And the city, the state, and the state, the country, and basically should all be lights that are inspiring and kindling one another to light the whole world. The whole world should have this revelation of a mitzvah, and that's actually the light of Mashiach. The light of Mashiach is a light which is really beyond the world, which is connected to the level of surrounding light, as opposed to the inner light, which is Torah. So we should have this inner light, and God should light all the candles of Tzion. That's what it says, that the candles of Tzion should be lit with Bimhera V'Amenu, within our days, should be mamash right now. Okay. God bless Steve Zalman.
God bless Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom. And
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Happy Hanukkah.
Hanukkah.
All right. Shabbat Shalom, Steve. God bless.
Bless Rabbi. Thank you so much. Give my love to the family. Happy Hanukkah.
I will. Happy Hanukkah, Steve.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Happy Hanukkah, Zalman.
Bye, all. Shabbat Shalom.
Bye-bye.